Thanks for watching Peachytale. I really appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more amazing stories. In a past life, she died in flames as her husband's jealous ex-lover massacred their entire village. Reborn with memories intact, Alina must protect her son and outsmart the vicious Lady Cassandra, who'll stop at nothing to reclaim Prince Marcus. But when mysterious snow cream and deadly secrets collide, who will survive this game of vengeance? In my previous life, Marcus Blackwood fell into a ravine and lost his memory, forgetting his love affair with Lady Cassandra. He married a village woman like me as his wife. Lady Cassandra cried and begged, "I won't hinder the prince's future. I'll help my husband recover his memories, bring them back together, then stand aside and watch them leave the village for the capital." 1 month later, Lady Cassandra's guards brought news of their grand wedding. Along with that news came gleaming swords and soaring flames, massacring the villagers, corpses scattered everywhere. My son and I were pierced through by a single sword strike, then doused with oil, burned alive to ashes. When I opened my eyes again, my 4-year-old son was shaking me, tears streaming down his face. "Mother, I just had a nightmare." Little Andrew trembled. "Mother, I dreamed the whole village was on fire. There were many demons in black clothes holding swords, killing people." Andy couldn't run, it hurt so much. I held my son tightly, gently comforting him. It was just a nightmare, there are no demons in real life. But I had lied to him, it was all true. In the raging flames, those black-clad guards laughed wickedly as they slaughtered everywhere. If you want to blame someone, blame that lowly woman. She's the one who brought this upon you. Only when everyone who knows the prince was once married is dead can Our Lady have her grand wedding in peace. The villagers screamed and fled in despair, blood spurting from their throats as they collapsed. The elderly and children who couldn't run were forced into the flames, crying out in agony. Little Andrew screamed in terror. I rushed to protect him, but both mother and son were pierced through by a sword. Oil poured down from above, the flames consuming our flesh. In my agonizing last breaths, they laughed maniacally. Even if the prince himself came here, he wouldn't recognize this lowly woman. Daring to steal Lady Cassandra's man, seeking her own death, swallowed by endless regret, I opened my eyes again. I had been reborn to the day Lady Cassandra came looking for us. In my previous life on this day, she shed tears calling his name, recounting their passionate love story. But my husband only shook his head, saying he was from South Mountain Village, not some Prince Marcus. Lady Cassandra wouldn't accept it, immediately sent people to harass us daily, making my husband so annoyed he decisively avoided her. With no other choice, she came to me. That noble lady, accustomed to arrogance and dominance, abandoned her pride and knelt before me, begging me to help my husband recover his memories. She said she had lost the purest love in the world, and didn't want Marcus to lose his future too. Marcus was a prince, a dragon among men, meant to govern and bring peace to the people, not to be a lowly village teacher. Being a teacher isn't lowly at all. But I believed that for my husband, recovering his true identity, and then deciding whether to stay or leave would be fair. I agreed to help Lady Cassandra create opportunities to recreate important scenes from Prince Marcus's life, not caring that in all those past moments, she was by his side. Finally, my husband remembered the past, tearfully reuniting with Lady Cassandra, looking at me with confused eyes for a moment. I didn't want to burden him. When Lady Cassandra asked him to return to the capital with her, I also encouraged him. Before leaving, my husband repeatedly instructed, "Elena, wait for me to speak with my family, then I'll come back for you and Andy." I smiled and agreed, waiting and waiting. I waited for news of Prince Marcus and Lady Cassandra's grand wedding, along with soaring flames and rivers of blood. So stealing my husband wasn't enough, she had to bury my child and I along with the entire village to completely erase everything. To restore her perfect love story of one couple for all eternity. Hearing crying, my husband rushed in alarmed, only relaxing when he saw mother and child were fine. I silently stared at the man before me, the question before death rising in my mind again. Those men in black brought not only death but also news of my husband and Lady Cassandra's grand wedding. Was the cruel massacre in the village Lady Cassandra's idea alone, or did he know too? These days, romance stories get fewer recommendations. Please give me a like, comment and share to support romance stories. Each of your comments gives us great motivation. But that handsome face now showed only genuine concern, his eyes clear and innocent. A few seconds later, I smiled lightly as usual. It's fine, he just had a nightmare. My husband sighed in relief, naturally opening his arms wide. Little Andrew climbed onto his shoulders without hesitation. Outside came Elder William's booming voice. Marcus, Elena, someone from the capital has come. The visitor was Lady Cassandra, standing in the courtyard, her red dress billowing, proud to the extreme. Upon seeing my husband, her face showed shock, then moments later, her eyes gradually reddened. Marcus, the maids and guards filled the ground kneeling, calling out, Prince Marcus, while my husband's expression remained guarded, not moving an inch. Seeing the deep affection on the woman's face gradually stiffen, Elder William whispered an explanation. Noble one. Please don't blame Marcus, he doesn't remember the past. Lady Cassandra frowned, and a black-clad guard nearby immediately kicked Elder William's back. Who allowed you to speak? Looking for death. The kind-hearted elder respected by villagers now staggered and fell like a dog, his face covered in mud. The guard looked pleased, the maids covered their mouths giggling. Lady Cassandra pretended not to see. My husband's face darkened, about to step forward to help the village chief, but Lady Cassandra blocked him. Marcus, I am Cassandra Sterling. You promised me one couple for all eternity. I never forgot. Today I finally found you. Her beautiful face streamed with tears like rain, her voice choked with emotion, sincere feelings. At this time in my previous life, I hurriedly helped the elder leave so my husband and his old love could speak clearly. This time I didn't stay silent, listening to my husband angrily scold. No matter who you are, you shouldn't bully an elder like this. Lady Cassandra's mouth twitched. After my husband took Elder William outside, she signaled her maid to step forward. Your Highness, the lady searched for you for years, endured such bitterness. How could you hurt the lady's dignity like this for a lowly person? The clever maid recounted their past love story on her mistress's behalf. As if immersed in past memories, the lady took out her handkerchief, turning to dab at her eyes. Even my husband sighed. After a long while, just as he was about to speak, I pulled our child forward and knelt heavily toward him. When I raised my head, tears streamed down, my voice trembling like a withering flower in the wind. Husband, you also promised me one couple for all eternity, but now I see my lowly status. The one worthy of you is Lady Cassandra. I only ask to take Andy away. Though we mother and son live in hardship, we absolutely won't be an obstacle between you and the lady. Hearing this, Lady Cassandra showed a moment of surprise, then joy appeared on her face, but that smile quickly vanished. My husband quickly stepped forward, embracing me and our child. Elena, what nonsense are you saying? The past doesn't matter. We're married now. I'm your husband, Andy's father. I'll grow old with you, our family will never part. Lady Cassandra couldn't believe it. Marcus, have you gone mad? I am a lady and she's just a village woman. You want to grow old with her, alongside me. But my husband paid her no attention, only frantically comforting me. Because his always strong wife, who didn't cry even during difficult childbirth, that nearly killed her, was now shedding tears of sorrow. My husband was so frightened and heartbroken that his words became jumbled. Lady Cassandra, forgotten, suddenly fainted. The maids screamed and caught her. Her fainting wasn't convincing and her half-opened eyes was full of sober resentment. And I leaned weakly against my husband's chest, hiding the satisfaction at the corner of my mouth. Don't worry. This life I absolutely won't let you have your way. Lady Cassandra appointed me to serve her meals just like in the previous life. Back then, I carried guilt for stealing her lover, carefully preparing soup and rice, even thinking about how to properly apologize. Upon entering, Lady Cassandra looked me up and down, then covered her nose. Heaven, what strange smell does this village woman have? Her hands are so dirty too. How can anyone eat food she makes? I was about to explain that years of gathering and cooking medicine inevitably left odors on me, and my rough hands were from years of labor, not dirt. Before I could speak, she kicked over the food container, impatiently waving her hand for me to remake it quickly, not to delay her meal. But the food I brought the next time was thrown straight to the dogs by her maid. I only said one sentence. The dishes for food are meant for people. Lady Cassandra coldly threw hot tea over my head. A lowly woman daring to teach me. Think you're so clean? In my eyes, you're no different from that dog. I don't know how Marcus can stand you. Only then did I understand she didn't need the meal, but wanted to show me the gap between us. using it as an excuse to humiliate me. But I comforted myself, perhaps the pain of losing her love made Lady Cassandra temporarily extreme. Returning to this life, I had no more hope in my heart. Wearing my oldest, ugliest clothes. Using medicinal powder to make my skin sallow as wax, as soon as I entered, I humbled myself, actively cooperating with her hidden purpose. This lowly village woman doesn't deserve to share a room with nobles. To let Lady Cassandra dine in peace, I request to withdraw first. As I left, I opened the food container lid, revealing the fragrant chicken soup inside. The rich aroma filled the room, even the maids secretly swallowed. The road to the village wasn't easy, there were no decent restaurants. They hadn't eaten such delicious food in at least 4 or 5 days. Outside the door, I heard Lady Cassandra mockingly laugh at my knowing my place, ordering someone to serve her soup, dividing the remaining meat among the servants. After one night, everyone was fine. Only Lady Cassandra broke out in red bumps from head to toe, the dense rash glowing red like the mangy dogs in the village. When Lady Cassandra kicked open our gate, my husband had already taken Andy to school. After entering the house, she only kept 2 maids by her side, ripping off her face covering, roaring viciously, "You lowly woman dare to poison the soup." On that swollen, ugly face, the dark circles under her eyes were especially prominent. She must have stayed up all night. I pretended innocence, widening my eyes in shock, covering my mouth to hide the satisfied smile at the corner. If the food was poisoned, everyone who ate it would be affected. My neighbors and I all drank this soup. Why is no one else like Lady Cassandra? The 2 maids stepped forward, pressing me to kneel on the ground. How bold. If it's not your food that's problematic, could it be Our Lady's fault? I glanced at the maids' faces, defending myself in a low voice. The chicken soup yesterday was enough for 7 or 8 people. You 2 sisters must have eaten some too, yet your skin remains smooth like this. Could it be you think your luck is better than the nobles? If not, there's only one possibility. We're all rough people. While Lady Cassandra is a noble beauty temporarily unaccustomed to village food. The maids' faces stiffened, quickly understanding, nodding in agreement. Before Lady Cassandra could rage, I presented a box of ointment. Lady Cassandra, just apply this ointment and fast for 3 days. You'll definitely recover without leaving any marks. Lady Cassandra was half believing, half doubting, frantically shouting, "If it doesn't heal, I'll have you flayed for poisoning." I nodded in agreement, not only trusting my ointment, but also because I truly hadn't poisoned anything, only added a seasoning that dissolves in soup. Shared among many, it's fine. But if someone greedily monopolizes it and drinks too much, it causes temporary symptoms. Domineering as she was, with delicious soup she neither finished nor shared with others, naturally she couldn't discover the oddity within. But I still had to be punished. Lady Cassandra made me kneel for 2 hours, during which she continuously used her feet to crush my hands, only calming her anger when she saw my whole body trembling and begging repeatedly. She looked satisfied at my struggling appearance, but didn't see the contempt in my heart. What's kneeling for 2 hours? For herb gathering, I often knelt by cliff sides for half a day as routine. As for my hands only slightly red and swollen, she wanted to step on people but feared falling herself, inevitably reducing her force. These petty tricks were far from the cruelty of burning and massacring the entire village in the previous life. How to make my husband truly despise her? I had to act myself, finding small stones, wearing thin clothes, kneeling down, then holding stones and controlling the force to avoid damaging tendons and bones. I beat my hands until bruised and torn. When my husband returned, I greeted him with a smile. My movements were slow, carefully hiding my hands. Soon my observant husband noticed something wrong. He looked at my injuries, then at my smile, his eyes immediately reddening. My husband turned away. After a long while he stood up, chest heaving violently, fists clenched, veins bulging on his forehead. The moment his gaze turned toward the door, I ignored my aching knees and knelt down, begging him not to act rashly. "Husband, it doesn't hurt. It's my fault for not serving Lady Cassandra well. A small injury that can appease her anger is good. Common people like us cannot argue with nobles." My husband painfully helped me up. Unable to change my earnest pleas, he had to promise not to seek her out. But his eyes darkened. He sat in the room until midnight before bringing cold air to bed, holding me tightly from behind. "Elena, don't be afraid. I'll protect you." I suppressed the bitter emotions in my heart, pretending to sleep. If he could remember the past and know he was a prince, of course he could protect me. But I'm sorry, this life I dare not gamble anymore. Fortunately, Lady Cassandra was reluctant to let others see her current appearance, ordering people to block the path to her quarters, not leaving her door for several days. Perhaps fearing his own rash actions, my husband also left the village, saying he was helping Elder William with some matters. 5 days later, when my husband returned home, Lady Cassandra immediately came to visit. After using the ointment, her appearance had recovered, though after 3 days of hunger her complexion was sallow, no longer beautifully radiant as when she first arrived. Lady Cassandra used weakness as an excuse to act coquettishly with my husband, saying she hadn't seen him for days, couldn't eat, and often woke crying from sleep, which was why she looked haggard. My husband changed completely from when speaking sweetly with me, his expression stiff, tone cold. If the noble lady's delicate body finds village life disagreeable, why not leave early? If something happens, innocent people will suffer. Lady Cassandra heard this and stormed off, leaving hastily and angrily, tripping at the doorway, rolling to the ground, her bright red dress covered in dust. My usually gentle husband made no attempt to hide his mockery. We did nothing. This really is unsuitable conditions. Lady Cassandra's face turned pale, not looking back. Soon after came the sound of her loudly cursing "useless man" and her maid's pleas. My husband laughed. She values face so much, she should be quiet for a few days. But he was wrong. Just 2 days later, Lady Cassandra's vicious nature fully revealed itself, causing something extremely outrageous. Lady Cassandra forcibly bought all the livestock in the village. Some animals were kept for breeding. Some were too young. Some had been raised for years and become like family. Seeing the villagers unwilling to sell, Lady Cassandra threw down some scattered silver, ordering guards with weapons to force their way into homes and take them by force. She said she'd been feeling weak lately and needed proper nourishment, ordering the purchased livestock to be slaughtered daily in the village square. The animals that once accompanied the villagers had their meat, tendons, and bones removed bit by bit, crying pitifully until death. Slaughtering livestock wasn't rare, but throughout history, farmers raised and slaughtered for survival. But Lady Cassandra's subordinates were venting their anger on these small creatures. They went from lively, jumping animals to a blur of blood and flesh, tortured to death. Less than a tenth was used, most was carelessly discarded, rotting and stinking. Animals cannot speak, but they too have feelings, know to cry, beg, and struggle. The painful sight was unbearable to watch. Elder William and the villagers repeatedly advised her, only to receive, "The food here is coarse. Without killing many, how can we select what's edible? Besides, I've already bought these lowly breeds. I'll kill them if I want. What business is it of others?" Within days, the yellow earth was stained red. The once noisy cattle and goat pens had fallen silent. Next was a small yellow puppy just 1 month old. It thought it was playing with people as usual, happily wagging its tail, until it was slammed hard to the ground, letting out a short whimper before struggling to leave. The guard pulled it back, pinning it down, cutting open its legs with a knife, skillfully beginning to skin it. Tears flowed from the puppy's dark eyes. It seemed to understand its fate, no longer whimpering. Neighbor Sophie ran over crying and knelt down, holding up the scattered silver, begging Lady Cassandra to spare her little dog. No one paid attention. Seeing the dog convulsing in pain, Sophie completely broke down, painfully cursing those guards as heartless beasts. Finally, Lady Cassandra lazily spoke up. "You protect a dog like this, then take its place." Sophie was grabbed, and a lustful gleam appeared in the guards' eyes as they deliberately groped her body. "Lady Cassandra, should we skin this lowly breed layer by layer too?" Lady Cassandra waved dismissively, "Do as you please. Anyone who dares defy me, even beaten to death, is just one worthless life." The villagers were furious, eyes red with rage. When they were about to charge forward, Elder William stopped them with tears streaming down. Because if they charged, the fate of the livestock these past days would become the villagers' fate. Sophie's outer clothes were stripped off. She desperately protected the thin garment underneath, her expression despairing, just like that blood-covered little dog. Elder William knelt beside her, kowtowing until his head bled. "Noble Lady Cassandra, Sophie is still young and doesn't understand. Please punish me, the village chief, instead. Spare her." In that moment, I seemed to see my previous life's death, villagers slaughtered by swords because of me, then writhing in the hellfire of demons. The only difference was the one causing it all was sitting nearby, her cold gaze sweeping over the crowd. Not seeing me and my husband, disappointment showed on her face. Suppressing my surging hatred, I stepped lightly from the reeds behind her, not discovered by the guards until I was close. They held swords and shouted, warning me not to act rashly. The maids also hurried forward to protect her. Lady Cassandra was startled for a moment, then pointed at Sophie lying on the ground, laughing arrogantly. "You want to defy your betters too." I stared at her, using a voice only she and the maids beside her could hear, speaking one sentence. Lady Cassandra froze, showing a puzzled expression. Before she could react, a young voice suddenly rang out. "Mother, father is here." Little Andy emerged from the crowd, followed by my husband who had long disappeared, along with a blue-robed official and many more officers than guards. "Your Governor Thomas Fairfield." He feared no power, upright and impartial, called Judge Fairfield, by people for hundreds of miles around. Facing the current situation, Lady Cassandra showed no panic, kicking the red-faced maid beside her, ordering her to step forward. The village livestock were all bought by us. Naturally, we can handle them however we want. The woman on the ground defied royalty and should be punished according to law. Governor Fairfield stepped forward and bowed, saying, "These livestock were already ordered by the government office. We're just a few days late collecting them. Those already dead are gone, but please let us have the rest." Lady Cassandra laughed coldly, scolding him for being so bold as to compete with her. He neither arrogantly nor humbly said, "It's not that I'm competing with you, but public interest comes before private use. Moreover, Lady Cassandra is still involved in the Blue Moon Pavilion case. You should still act carefully and appropriately." Lady Cassandra's face darkened, mouth tightly closed, silently compromising. As long as she didn't yield, those guards still held Sophie in just her undergarments beneath them. I slowly stepped forward. "Sir, this name Blue Moon Pavilion sounds familiar. Is it a wine house? May I ask what case occurred?" Governor Fairfield looked at me, his expression softening. "So it's the divine physician who helped with the plague a year ago." Then he explained it wasn't a wine house but a house of pleasure. Half a year ago it suddenly caught fire, over 10 courtesans burned alive. My heart turned cold, ignoring the piercing gaze behind me. I deliberately pretended not to understand, continuing to ask, "Lady Cassandra is originally kind-hearted. How could she be involved in such a tragic case?" Governor Fairfield said though there was no actual evidence, the rumor spreader was Prince Victor. He had a special relationship with Lady Cassandra. The government office couldn't ignore it. Years ago, after Prince Marcus accidentally went missing, Lady Cassandra and the handsome Prince Victor got engaged. Only because Prince Victor's mother suddenly passed away, mourning restrictions prevented the ceremony. The day before the case occurred, many people saw Lady Cassandra arguing with a courtesan favored by Prince Victor outside Blue Moon Pavilion. After the fire, Prince Victor drunkenly cursed Lady Cassandra at a gathering with friends, calling her a terrifying jealous woman, cruel in nature, eliminating those around him before even entering his household. Baseless rumors. Finally, Lady Cassandra couldn't help but speak. "I just wasn't used to Victor's philandering ways and wanted to break the engagement with him. As a result, he slandered me." Slandered. Once the things Lady Cassandra did here reached Prince Victor's ears, it would be like personally handing over evidence, making the world believe him. Everyone could hear the warning in Governor Fairfield's words. No matter how unwilling, Lady Cassandra could only resentfully order the guards to let go. But before leaving, she gritted her teeth looking at my husband, as if making a bet. "Marcus, marriage is decided by family. I can't help it. Whether you believe it or not, I only love you alone." My husband looked at the pools of blood on the ground, as if frightened, stepping back in relief. Thank goodness, then held me tightly. "Alana, were you scared?" "I arrived late," my husband said when he left the village and met Governor Fairfield. Learning Lady Cassandra was here, the governor specially sent people to protect us, leaving several elite officers in the village before departing. After I brought food to the officers, I circled to behind Lady Cassandra's quarters. The temporary quarters leaned against a cliff. The narrow path behind had no foot traffic, only I often used it when gathering herbs. Separated by a wall, Lady Cassandra's sharp voice was crystal clear. Before I got angry, Marcus would only try to coax me. This time just scaring him by killing some animals, Marcus actually dared deliberately humiliate me in front of others. I don't know what drug that lowly woman gave him. The one responding was her close maid. Lady Cassandra, don't blame him. The prince hasn't recovered his memories yet. Once he remembers. But he keeps avoiding me. When will he remember? Lady Cassandra's voice grew angrier. If that year he hadn't stupidly fallen off the cliff, would I have had to agree to that, Prince Victor? What kind of philandering waste is he? Facing her mistress's surging anger, the maid timidly mentioned, that day Prince Marcus's wife said she could help. Didn't this servant, Monsieur? Didn't, Monsieur. That day I told Lady Cassandra I could help you. A resounding slap. What wife? Just a village woman. She knew sooner or later Marcus would recover his memories, didn't dare oppose me. Of course had to come flatter me. Lady Cassandra cursed continuously, saying Prince Marcus's wife could only be her. Yet it was occupied by a village woman first, truly nauseating. The maid agreed for a long time until Lady Cassandra's mood stabilized, then returned to the topic. That village woman is called a divine physician by Governor Fairfield. The ointment last time was quite good too. Perhaps she really has a way to make the prince clear-headed. Not long after, I returned to this place. Similar scene, compared to the previous life, Lady Cassandra's attitude was vastly different. In the previous life, I saw her cruel nature as minor willfulness from noble upbringing, frequently protecting her. Therefore, she wore a hypocritical mask, crying and begging me to let go for my husband's future. This time Lady Cassandra was too lazy to play the weak, deeply affectionate lover, directly using Sophie's life to threaten me, ordering me to find a way to restore my husband's memories. Her face became fierce, roaring. That day you submitted. I spared that lowly person. Otherwise, a mere local governor isn't worth my notice. Marcus is a dragon in the clouds, while you're just a village woman, implicating him to be a shrimp under others' feet his whole life. Aren't you more deserving of death than that lowly person? If you can help Marcus recover his memories, it will be making amends for your crimes. I can spare you too from death. Otherwise, your fate can only be more tragic than those beasts. I lowered my head, trembling uncontrollably. If you're sensible and obedient, I'll protect you. Even if later you want to stay by the prince's side as a concubine, it's not impossible. Lady Cassandra was smugly satisfied, thinking I was frightened out of my wits. Her tone softened somewhat. But she didn't know I was laughing until I almost coughed up blood from my throat. When she nearly lost patience, I finally raised my head, slowly speaking. Recovering memories is too slow. Lady Cassandra must have realized Prince Marcus doesn't care about the past at all. Rather than making him remember old feelings, why not try another method, reclaim his heart? Lady Cassandra has beautiful features, with just one flaw, slightly dark skin. In contrast, I was born fair. Despite wind and sun, I remain spotlessly white. Indeed, it could enhance one's beauty considerably. I'm just a village woman with low status. Prince Marcus marrying me was precisely because he noticed this point. I spoke with downcast eyes in submission. This still angered Lady Cassandra. She slapped me hard, the red handprint making my white skin even more prominent. After venting her anger, she accepted the snow cream box I offered. If you dare harm me, I'll skin you. 2 days later, the dark-skinned maid beside Lady Cassandra suddenly became much whiter. Lady Cassandra's skin also became like a peeled egg, increasingly fair, becoming translucent like jade. Even the villagers who originally feared her were amazed at her rapidly improving beauty, secretly discussing the strange method she used. Lady Cassandra was very pleased, in excellent spirits. She hadn't troubled anyone for a long time, and I received many precious rewards each time I returned from her place. My husband's gaze toward me held some scrutiny, but I didn't speak, and he didn't ask. Physician's heart, these were words I said when saving him. He trusted deeply. But my husband didn't know I once stood outside the wall and heard Lady Cassandra's final schemes. At that time, the maid cautiously asked, Prince Marcus values feelings deeply. After recovering his memories, he might bring his current wife to the manor. Should we set rules beforehand? Her entering the manor. Unless I'm dead. Lady Cassandra smashed the teacup, picking up a village woman already touched by a man, giving her concubine status. Even following Prince Victor, at least he keeps his courtesans outside. Not knowing what the maid whispered, Lady Cassandra's voice sounded very irritated. What's so difficult about this? Wait for Marcus to recover his memories and return to the capital. Have Chen and his people eliminate that lowly woman and her bastard child. Best to be like last time, clean and efficient. Even if that Governor Thomas wouldn't dare touch me easily. Even if Marcus has some suspicions, I'll speak a few words of sweet intimacy. Would he still bear to blame me? Pausing, her voice turned cold enough to make one shiver. No, not just that lowly woman. This entire village cannot remain. At most they're just lowly shrimp, yet dare detain Marcus. If Marcus is wandering outside now and sees me, who knows how grateful he'd be. Now he dares treat me this way. It's all these villagers' fault. Those lowly commoners who don't know their place all deserve death. Physician's heart isn't wrong, but facing beasts, when life is threatened, still speaking of benevolence isn't kindness but stupidity. Half a month later, when the ointment was nearly gone, I left the village to gather herbs. On the return journey I encountered heavy rain, delayed by a day. Just reaching the village entrance, I already saw my husband holding an umbrella waiting by the road. Seeing me, he immediately rushed forward worriedly, examining me thoroughly, asking the reason before sighing in relief. We leaned close together walking home, but at the door were stopped by Sophie. She worriedly said, 2 hours ago, Lady Cassandra sent people to take Andy away. My heart sank. I hurriedly turned around but was grabbed by my husband who wanted to go together. I made excuses about not wanting to anger Lady Cassandra to convince him to stay, then went alone. In the room where I often visited recently, I saw Andy at first glance. My child's small body was tied tightly to a chair with rough rope, crying and sniffling, eyes full of terror. Beside him, Lady Cassandra slowly turned a red, hot branding iron in her hands with a gloomy expression. I fell to my knees with a thud, trembling as I asked why. She lifted her chin. On her fair neck were several red scratches from scratching. You said just becoming more beautiful and Marcus would love me again. After only 2 days of snow cream, I'm already unbearably itchy, scratching my skin raw. Did that lowly person of yours poison me again? If you dare damage my appearance even slightly, I'll make your child's life worse than death. Regretting being born into this world, I forced myself not to look at my crying child, patiently explaining. The snow cream had no poison, otherwise the maid, beside her would also feel uncomfortable after using it. This was made from precious snow lotus. The only taboo was not being greedy for results and using too much at once. These days I was out gathering herbs, unable to personally help Lady Cassandra apply the cream. But according to the amount I instructed, the previous box should still have some left. Yet she used it up early, obviously exceeding the amount greatly. So the itching wasn't from stopping the medicine but from using too much these past days. The ingredients for snow cream had been replenished. After making it in 2 days, if Lady Cassandra applied it moderately, there absolutely wouldn't be any problems. If Lady Cassandra didn't trust me, she could keep me here to make the cream. Only I needed the special medicine mortar from my home. If Lady Cassandra wasn't afraid of a day's delay, she could have someone dismantle it and bring it here. The prince returning to Lady Cassandra was just a matter of time. I only sought enough payment after the matter succeeded, then would take the child and leave as agreed. Why create more trouble? I looked straight without avoiding her gaze, my tone sincere. Lady Cassandra frowned in thought for a moment, finally throwing away the branding iron in her hand. But she didn't wait for me to relax before her sharp nails scratched across Andy's tender skin, then casually ordered, "You go back to make snow cream. Leave the child here. When my appearance recovers and I truly win Marcus's heart, I'll definitely prepare enough gold, silver, and carriages to send you away." Andy immediately burst into loud sobs. My heart lurched, and I knelt on the ground earnestly pleading, "Shut up or I'll tie you to a tree and starve you for days." Lady Cassandra slapped the child's face, standing up irritably. "If you want your child to suffer less, stop talking nonsense and go make the cream quickly." 2 guards stepped forward, one on each side gripping my arms tightly, dragging me outside. Just inches away, I looked at my crying Andy. No matter how I flailed, I couldn't get close. My heart turned cold. Snow cream could quickly whiten and smooth skin without harming the body with only one flaw. It was addictive. After using enough if stopped, the originally nourished areas would daily itch and ache unbearably. Nothing showed outside, but inside would slowly rot. One box's effects weren't stable enough, needed another box to consolidate the medicine's power. After success, this could be used for control. But now with Andy detained, I could only reveal my cards early. Fish die or nets break, even if I alone couldn't escape. As long as Andy wasn't hurt and she didn't get her wish, I'd accept it. I stopped crying, no longer struggling. Taking a deep breath, about to speak, footsteps sounded by my ear. My husband walked in, step by step from the courtyard into the house. He didn't look at me or our crying child, his shocked gaze fixed only on Lady Cassandra. Cassandra, how did you become so beautiful? People in the village rumored the prince suddenly recovered his past memories. Recognizing Lady Cassandra, he was overjoyed, forgetting about me and Andy. Hearing I was the wife he married while memory impaired and Andy was his child, Prince Marcus frowned tightly, continuously urging Lady Cassandra to drive us away. Disgust showed clearly on his face. From that day on, he never returned. Mother, doesn't father want us anymore? Andy pouted, looking wronged. I held him, could only shake my head, unable to say anything. Though after rebirth I'd cut off all naive fantasies, not daring the slightest laxness. I never expected my husband would recover his memories. Countless nights I recalled the previous life's mistakes. There might be blindness and stupidity, but the biggest fault wasn't kindness. It was the insurmountable gap between my commoner status and hers. Being born lowly was already a crime. She was wicked, cruel, and delusional. Even if I returned my husband to her, she still wouldn't spare me and all the villagers. So this life I didn't dare yield, could only fight. As long as my husband didn't remember her, even detested her, then 5 years of feelings were my cards to play. 5 years ago, my husband was a vagrant unconscious in the mountain valley. I happened upon him while gathering herbs. In winter's bitter cold, he wore a single dirty shirt, face blue, limbs covered in wounds. I struggled to carry him back. While he was injured and unconscious, I stayed up day and night caring for him. He woke very grateful, not wanting to leave, saying he didn't remember his identity. Leaving the village with nowhere to go, he could only beg. Better to stay here and support himself. But his shoulders couldn't carry, hands couldn't lift. Working one day in the fields, I had to follow behind fixing things for hours, while thinking how to soothe his disappointment. Fortunately, he had proper features and broad learning. Following my advice, he quickly became a beloved teacher in the village. During his stay at my home, we saw each other morning and night. Feelings grew over time. He swore loyalty to me. We bowed to heaven and earth, bowed to Elder William, became a loving married couple, bore our lovely child Andy. He went from vagrant to my husband, the child's father. Years of companionship might lack splendor and grandeur, but absolutely weren't inferior to Lady Cassandra's feelings. But one thorn always pierced my heart. In the previous life at his grand wedding, did he know his former family and friends were killed by his new wife in the cruelest way? To protect my son and the villagers' lives, I suppressed that question. Even using shameful means, I had to try my best to obstruct. As long as my husband stood by me, there might be a chance to win. But now everything had changed. My husband right before me spoke of their youthful romance. I'd heard Lady Cassandra tell those scenes in my previous life. They couldn't be fake. He truly remembered her. Once my husband sided with Lady Cassandra, for the entire village's lives, I could only prepare for the worst. Days later, the snow cream was finished. After Lady Cassandra's supervisor left, I invited Elder William to my home under cover of night. Hearing my request, Elder William looked incredulous. Alana, just because the prince married you, Lady Cassandra plans to kill us all. This is impossible. He was an honest, simple man his whole life. Hard to believe someone could be so viciously evil. And for my speculation, having the entire village secretly leave their ancestral home of many generations was even less simple. I took out all the valuables Lady Cassandra had given me these past days, kneeling on the ground earnestly pleading. But Elder William refused to accept them, only reluctantly promising to think about it before standing to leave. For several consecutive days, he avoided meeting me, even advising Sophie to visit me often, saying I was heartbroken over the prince's matter, lost my reason. Meanwhile, I watched helplessly as my husband and Lady Cassandra grew increasingly intimate, whispering in each other's ears without avoiding others. Lady Cassandra tormented a mute child in the village for amusement, forcing him to crawl on the ground and bark like a dog. My husband didn't stop her, only tenderly watching Lady Cassandra in her bright red clothes, gorgeous and flamboyant, forgetting that when he was a teacher, he always protected that child most. The man before me felt so strange. I was extremely afraid this life's village destruction would come even sooner. In my desperate urgency, I resolved that even if the villagers later saw me as a monster, I had to speak of my rebirth. But before I could find Elder William, he and the officers came knocking urgently, saying my husband was poisoned and needed my help. I suppressed all questions in my heart, rushing there, only to discover my husband wasn't poisoned but drugged with aphrodisiac. I stayed up all night using acupuncture to detoxify my husband, who'd nearly lost consciousness, continuously preparing medicinal baths to wipe his body. Only at dawn did I learn what happened in Lady Cassandra's quarters. That night was extremely chaotic. The officer recounted my husband ran out of the small courtyard alone, urgently going to the village chief's house, telling Elder William to quickly find me and them to come. Those living near the small courtyard were awakened by loud screams and shouts. They cracked their doors to peek, witnessing a scene that made one blush. Lady Cassandra wore no undergarments, just a loose bright red dress, nearly naked, chasing guards in the courtyard. Initially those men were extremely frightened, but when embraced by a woman they normally wouldn't dare dream of, their struggles were no longer so forceful. Especially when Lady Cassandra ordered that if they didn't comply with her wishes, she'd behead them. Half pushing, half pulling, 7 or 8 guards with strange expressions successively entered the room. The sounds of lovemaking lasted nearly all night without stopping. The next morning, knocking came from the woodshed behind the small courtyard. Someone removed the wooden latch on the door, releasing the 2 imprisoned maids. They pushed open the half-closed room door. After a moment, faces deathly pale, whole bodies trembling, they ran out. Then the maids knelt before the officers, continuously kowtowing, crying and begging the government to protect them. Otherwise they'd certainly be killed by Lady Cassandra. From their stammering testimony, the officers learned the cause. Though Prince Marcus had recovered his memories and seemed intimate with Lady Cassandra, he wouldn't touch her. Each night they slept in separate rooms and didn't mention returning to the capital. Lady Cassandra felt uneasy. To bind her lover's heart and make Prince Marcus petition the emperor for marriage, she thought of using drugs. The aphrodisiac was stolen from Prince Victor, reportedly very potent, so Lady Cassandra was also wary of the 2 maids, directly locking them in the woodshed. As a result, somehow Prince Marcus wasn't in the room, but 7 or 8 naked guards appeared. Knowing the matter was serious, while Lady Cassandra still slept soundly, the maids hurriedly fled seeking protection. When the officer informed of this, my husband was gradually waking. They didn't lie. I'd heard Cassandra's plan. Last night I took advantage of her inattention to switch cups. Who knew she'd put drugs in her own cup too? My husband's face was deathly pale as he sat up, showing unprecedented stern authority toward the officers. This is Cassandra's own doing. I order you to quickly handle the aftermath. Don't let her implicate innocent villagers. Then turning to my confusion, in an instant his gaze became gentle and lingering. Elena, what you want to know, I'll explain later. Let's go see now. In the small courtyard, officers with strange expressions stepped forward to report. All guards had their throats cut, bodies just carried away. The maids hid behind them, hugging together, sobbing. My husband slowly entered the room. Lady Cassandra sat with a gloomy expression, pupils unfocused, no longer wearing her favorite red dress. My husband sat opposite her. After a long while, she startled awake from her horror, rushing forward but was blocked by nearby officers, sitting on the blood-soaked floor. Marcus, it wasn't my fault. She cried, repeating this sentence over and over. You never make mistakes. Since I've known you, everything could be blamed on others. Last night too. My husband smiled, a faint, strange smile carrying coldness I'd never seen. Lady Cassandra came to her senses, hurriedly explaining, Marcus, it's not what you think. They wanted to assault their betters and I've already executed them, nothing happened. I'm fine. Don't listen to those rumors. Besides, you were once married too. I don't blame you. As long as you trust me, we can still be one couple for all eternity. She tried to grab my husband's hanging sleeve but was kicked away in disgust. Cassandra, you administered the drugs, you killed them. Even a lady shouldn't be above the law. Be good and follow the officers to the government office. Lady Cassandra, who'd been clamoring, froze for a moment, finally understanding. She widened her eyes, expression twisted. You knew I drugged you. It was you deliberately framed me. I only felt disgusted and left. My husband said calmly, you reap what you sow, threatening my wife's child. Even heaven couldn't stand it. Wife. So it's for her. Lady Cassandra only heard the word she hated most, viciously pointing at me, voice even more grating. You've recovered your memories. You must know the one you loved before was me, not a lowly village woman like her. What right do you have to abandon me for her? My husband glanced over, saying he'd been blind in judging people before, thinking Lady Cassandra was just willfully mischievous. Only now did he know her heart was viciously poisonous beyond cure. How fortunate he finally married me. Lady Cassandra clutched her chest, full of resentment. After a moment, her bloodshot eyes turned toward me. You lowly woman, what drug did you give Marcus? He clearly loved me deeply. He absolutely couldn't curse me like this. She charged at me frantically, as if wanting to tear me apart, but was stopped by the officers. My husband also shielded me. This has nothing to do with Alina. Let me ask you, why did I lose my memory and wander all the way here 5 years ago? Lady Cassandra froze. Didn't you already remember? 5 years ago you fell off East Mountain Cliff. Luckily you didn't die. Your head must have been injured somewhat. She hurriedly added, this can't be blamed on me. I only casually said I wanted the flower by the cliff. I didn't force you. You insisted on showing off your strength and slipped. The corner of my husband's mouth held mockery. East Mountain is less than 100 miles from here. If you'd sent word in time for the royal manor to dispatch people from the capital to search, I could have returned home early. I did send people to look for you. Lady Cassandra pointed toward the empty courtyard. Unfortunately, those sent just died. Otherwise, they could testify they couldn't find you. You saw me fall with your own eyes. My husband cut her off, expression cold. Lady Cassandra's face turned deathly pale. To hide your mistake and clear yourself of involvement, you never once thought to notify the royal manor. Your feelings for me are truly deep and righteous. My husband slightly raised his head, looking at her as if viewing the filthiest thing in the world. His final words were cold and indifferent. Only I heard it. Fortunately, I was reborn. Otherwise, how would my wife and child and this entire village ever see sunlight again? So my husband was also reborn. He personally told me the answer to that question. In the previous life, there was never any grand wedding. It was all deliberately fabricated by Lady Cassandra. Since my husband remembered falling off the cliff years ago, though he didn't pursue it out of past feelings, he no longer had any affection for Lady Cassandra. The one he thought of day and night was only his ordinary, kind-hearted wife and child. After returning to the capital, the royal manor's parents suddenly reunited with the son they thought had met with disaster somewhere. Overcome with joy, they fell ill. My husband upheld filial piety, devotedly caring for his parents while sending manor servants to the mountain village to bring his wife and child back. But half a month passed with no news from those sent, later learning they'd met disaster on the road. When the second person from the royal manor urgently arrived, the entire village had turned to ashes. With no breath of the living, my husband was endlessly grieved. While drowning his sorrows in wine at a tavern, he happened to encounter Prince Victor's people privately dealing with Lady Cassandra's maid. It turned out Prince Victor saw Lady Cassandra only thinking of her old love Prince Marcus after returning to the capital. Resentful, he bribed her maid, wanting to use rumors to put Lady Cassandra in a difficult position. In the transaction, their revealed words chilled my husband to the bone. The village fire wasn't accidental. His wife and child were seen as obstacles by Cassandra. To complete Lady Cassandra's perfect love, wife, child, and all villagers died tragically. In his rage, he charged forward interrogating that maid, but was mistakenly killed by Prince Victor's people. When my husband opened his eyes again, staggering as he pushed open the door, he saw me and Andy embracing. He feared shattering the happiness before him, also feared saying something strange that would frighten us, so he could only hide his agitation and pretend calm. Then Lady Cassandra came again. My husband originally didn't want to entangle with her much. She hadn't done evil in this life yet. He only wanted to preserve our simple happy life. But Lady Cassandra wouldn't let go. My husband left the village to find the governor while sending letters to the capital, reassuring his parents and asking them to send the royal manor's personal guards. The capital was too far, arrivals would need time. My husband feared Lady Cassandra would desperately do something irreversible to his wife and child, temporarily not revealing his identity. But seeing Lady Cassandra's threats to me growing increasingly serious, even harming our young child, when my husband entered from outside the courtyard to perform that scene, The outcome was somewhat unexpected, but could be considered poetic justice. Lady Cassandra finally experienced the pain of thinking she'd gotten her way only to lose everything. The royal manor's guards immediately arrived, escorting Lady Cassandra with the officers to report at the capital government office. A day later, news arrived she'd forever remain in this place. This couldn't be blamed on others. Not long after leaving the village, Lady Cassandra clearly seemed fine but kept crying. Her face itched and hurt. In her frenzied rage, despite others' advice, she beat her maids to vent anger. The maids, having experienced the guard's suicide, were already anxious and fearful, no longer as compliant as before, fleeing in panic. When Lady Cassandra was struggling with one maid, her foot slipped and she fell off the cliff. When they found her shattered body, despite her noble status, falling like that meant certain death in the mountain valley. Facing their mistress's death, the two maids showed not half a measure of grief, only relief after escaping death. They even actively indicated that as long as everyone would testify Lady Cassandra suddenly went mad and her death wasn't related to them, they were willing to testify about many more crimes Lady Cassandra had committed. After hearing the news, my husband's expressions remained normal, only busy packing luggage. The royal manor brought letters saying the old madam urgently wanted to meet her daughter-in-law and grandson, telling us to quickly set off for the capital. On the road, seeing me somewhat nervous, my husband held me, gently comforting, "Don't worry," knowing I married such a gentle, virtuous wife. The family was all very happy. Will grandfather and grandmother like mother too? Andy leaned close, tilting his head to ask. Of course. My husband smiled softly, pulling him into his embrace too. Our whole family sweetly leaned on each other. Until the end, my husband never asked why my actions this life were completely different from the previous. I tacitly never mentioned it. Treasuring the happiness before us was enough. This tale teaches us that true evil often hides behind beauty and nobility, while genuine love dwells in simple, everyday acts. Elena's rebirth shows that second chances demand courage to change our fate, not passive acceptance of injustice. The story warns against blind trust and the danger of valuing status over character. Most importantly, it reveals that protecting our loved ones sometimes requires us to abandon our innocence and fight with wisdom rather than pure kindness. In a world where power corrupts, the greatest strength lies not in revenge, but in preventing tragedy before it strikes. Don't forget to follow the channel. Peachytale will release new good stories daily. If you found this story good, please give me a like, share, and comment to support romance stories. Thank you all very much.